It's the Free Relief Golf Podcast. Thanks to the Blue Wire Hustle program, this is the place where listeners can explore the hidden cost of elite amateur golf. It'll always cost nothing to get some free relief, so let's get on with it, shall we? Hello and welcome back to the Free Relief Golf Podcast. I'm Freddie, and as always, I hope you're safe and well. This episode is the first in a series of episodes that I initially set out to do when I first created the Free Relief Golf Podcast. I've been playing in some tournaments this season, and I'm looking to outline the cost of playing in those events and report back to you, the listener, so you can get a first-hand experience of what it would cost you to do the same. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the St Andrews Links Trophy, and we'll also be having a brief review of the R&A Local Clubs Gold Medal and the New Golf Club Club Championship. There's quite a lot of detail to cover and I want to fly through it, so let's get straight into it. So firstly, we'll begin with a brief review of the R&A Local Clubs Gold Medal and the New Golf Club Club Championship. Why? Well, if you listen to my 2021 season preview episode, you'll understand that these events were priority events for my 2021 golfing season. If you haven't yet listened to that 2021 season preview episode, I strongly recommend you do because, well, frankly, it helps my analytics. So, a brief story for the gold medal is that, well, if you don't know, that it's the 60 best scratch golfers, normally scratch or better, in St Andrews who play. And this year the cut-off was actually plus 0.2 to make it into that top 60. Now there was an admin error. I won't be pointing fingers, but there was an admin error which meant I didn't get into the field off of my plus 2.8 handicap, but I was put into the reserve list and actually at the bottom of the reserve list. Which meant that on the day of the gold medal, which was Sunday the 16th of May, I drove up to the first tee and sat on the first tee to try and wait for a tee time in case someone didn't show up. And the tee times were going from 7:30 in the morning to 9:40. It might have been 7, but I got there at 7:30. And long story short, I'm sat there by the 18th green of the old course in my car, just waiting, hoping against all hope that someone just pulls out or doesn't show up so that I can take their tee time. Turns out a lot of people had pulled out and they'd been filled up with the top of the reserve list, so it was against all odds that I was going to make it into the field. I went into the old pavilion by the first tee, having a chat with Richard the starter. It was actually his birthday the other day. Happy birthday, Richard. And it gets to 9:20 and it's not looking good. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a 2-ball appears on the tee. Everyone's playing in 3 balls and there was a 2-ball. And my opportunity had arisen. So me and Richard run out of the old pavilion. Richard's saying, Freddie can play, Freddie can play. I'd already told the starter that I was around and waiting, and he'd gone over to my car by the 18th green, which was empty because I was just chatting with Richard. And I run out and I say, I can play. So I run past the R&A clubhouse, past the first tee, up to my car, and I get my clubs out, get my shoes out. I haven't got time to do up my laces. And then I'm parked. People who know the area will know that I was parked opposite the St Andrews Golf Club clubhouse. Someone comes out to the St Andrews Golf Club clubhouse as I'm saying this, as all this is happening. And they say, you can't leave your car there. We've got a delivery coming in and we need the space for the van. And I say, I'm literally on the tee right now. I'm on the tee right now, please. I haven't even got time to do up my laces. I'll be back in 2 seconds. So I have to run round with my trolley to the front of the R&A clubhouse, down the steps. Didn't even have time to go around to the normal starter. They signed me in whilst I was running, which was very good of them. Thank you to the St Andrews Links. And got a tee out, got a ball out. I don't even know if I put my glove on, to be honest, and just hit the tee shot. I hadn't even met my playing partners Lee and John before, but I had to run over to John and give him my trolley, and I said, look, sorry, I'll do the introductions in a second. I need to go move my car. So then I had to sprint, having just hit that tee shot, across the front of the 18th green of the old course on this beautiful sunny Sunday morning, jump the fence, get in my car and move it to a new parking spot further down by the new golf club, about, 150 yards further down the road. Get out, jump the fence, run over to Jonathan, who had taken my trolley for me, and I say, "Hi, I'm Freddie. Nice to meet you." And that was the start of my RNA Gold Medal, my priority event, my first priority event of the year. Not ideal preparation, but long story short, I did make the cut, and Lee and Jonathan were great company all day long. The gold medal was 36 holes on a Sunday, very special to be part of it and to make the cut. It was great fun. Like I say, it was sunny, got a tan, what more can you ask for? And that was a very good warm-up, but I thought I'd share that story with you. And the new Golf Club Championship, well, what can I say except to Raymond Simpson, the match and handicap convener for the new Golf Club. Well done for running everything so smoothly, getting all the draws done, getting everyone where they needed to be. It's really appreciated by all of us at the club. One thing I should mention at this point, the reason this is in a cost-saving podcast, is the gold medal was free to enter, as was the club championship. I just wasn't quite sure in that 2021 season preview episode if they were free to enter or not, but they are. Well done to Ross Kane for winning the new Golf Club Championship. He literally won everything and swept the board. He won the qualifying, the 2 rounds on the New and the Eden. He won the match play from the 16 quarters, semis, final. He won all of it. And he also won the Joe Lindsay Plate for having the best qualifying score on the new course, which was a 70 with the back 9 into the wind, which was ridiculous scoring on that day. So well done to Ross Kane. Decent week for him. And it was a great turnout for the finals day, where the new club had all their different categories of finals day, the championship, the shield, the salver, medallion, all the different handicaps represented out on the old course, and the Strathtyrum course for the seniors. A great turnout for the finals day, and it was brilliant to have an atmosphere. There was a lot of folk from Falkirk. Shout out Ross Kane for bringing the army. Might have been one of the reasons that he had such a successful final. But afterwards there was a function back at the club, and it just felt like something close to normal. I wanted to make a note of it. It was a priority event for the year, and it certainly felt like it, even though I didn't win it. So well done to everyone in the new golf club for contributing to a fun day of golf and frivolity. Thanks for putting up with all those stories. Let's get on to the meat of this podcast, the St Andrews Links Trophy. Now, firstly, before we talk about the costs of the St Andrews Links Trophy, I've got to give a shout out to Greg Dockhart and his team at the St Andrews Links for all their efforts that they put into organising the event which ran so smoothly. For those who don't know, the St Andrews Links Trophy is one of the premier amateur golfing events in the world. I'm not sure if Wagger still ranks events like this, but it normally would go elite A, B, C, D, E, F, G to give you an idea of the strength of the tournament that you're playing in. Elite would normally be like US Amateur, British Amateur, something like that. G or F would be Eden tournament level with a handicap entry of 15. And the St Andrews Links Trophy is generally an A in terms of strength of field, so it is up there. It's normally an international event where lots of people travel to play the hallowed turf and compete for one of the biggest titles in amateur golf. And given that it's international, it could not have been easy to organise this event this year, with all the competitors pulling out with travel restrictions and everything constantly changing. So yeah, shout out to Greg Dockhart and the St Andrews Links for managing to organise it, a somewhat international tournament in these COVID-wary times. Now, even though it is an international event and I had no right to play in this tournament, I still decided to enter it just on a whim, in case none of the international players decided to travel if there were still restrictions in place. This event happened in the first week of June, so there were quite a few restrictions still in place. Now, initially when I entered, a short story, this won't take too long, I promise. When I initially entered, they have the successful entrants. They had a reserve list of 50 players, which was generally done on World Amateur Ranking. If you had a ranking, you were on that list of 50. And then they had a list of unsuccessful entrants, on which I was 31st or 33rd. So I was about 81st or 3rd reserve for the St Andrews Links Trophy initially. And then I got an email 2 weeks before the tournament happened, or when it was going to happen, saying that I was 26th on the reserve list and that I'd moved up about best part of 50 places. And then the next day I got an email saying I was 19th, and then I was 12th, And then I was 8th, and you get the idea, and it worked its way all the way down to second reserve. I was second reserve for the Links Trophy with 1 day to go, essentially. We'd got to the Monday, and I'd arranged a caddy for my friend Aaron, try and help him out on the links. But on the Monday night of the Links Trophy, the tournament was starting on a Friday, but the practice was going to start on the Wednesday and Thursday. And on the Monday night, I got the call to say that I was in the tournament, which was fantastic. So I loved being part of it. And it was £60 entry. And what I'm going to do is go through what you get for your £60 entry. Spoiler, it's quite a lot. 3 main sections: golf, merchandise and food is what I'm going to cover. So here we go. Starting with the golf. You get 2 free practice rounds. You get a practice round this year on the Jubilee. Each year it alternates the tournament Jubilee or the new. And it's always 1 round on the old as well. So 2 free practice rounds, 1 on the Jube this year, 1 on the old. And you can have an extra practice round, but it will cost you the full green fee. And this year the peak season rates, I think it was 195 for the old course and 90 for the Jubilee. Unless you get a game with me, as some of the guys did. I use my points because I'm a top lad, and they got a bit of a discounted game on the Tuesday of the Jubilee, which meant we got the Wednesday to just chill out and not use all our energy, which was tough because I was very excited by this point, even though it was just the Tuesday. Getting to play in one of the top amateur events in the world doesn't just happen every day. So, you get your 2 guaranteed practice rounds and you get 2 guaranteed tournament rounds on the Jubilee and the old. The field is 144 and the cut is top 40 in tyres, so quite a tight cut. But once you make the cut through the rounds on the Friday and the Saturday, you get a further 2 rounds on the old course on a Sunday, which is special in itself because the old is normally closed to golfers on a Sunday. And the people of the town and visitors are allowed to roam freely on the courses. And the old is only ever open on a Sunday when the Open Championship is in town. The Alfred Dunhill Links, the local club's gold medal, as I mentioned earlier. And for the St Andrews Links and St Rule trophies, that being the women's equivalent. So it's prestigious to play the old course on a Sunday. And for £60, after some practice and some good qualifying golf, you could be there. Now, on the practice area, practice facilities were excellent on the week, as you would expect. Standard Callaway range balls, which the St Andrews Links Academy always use. But there was a designated space at the other end of the academy for the competitors to use. So it was a grass range and there was a short game area there as well, all free of charge, all complimentary with your entry fee. And the range balls were included, and there was seemingly a plentiful supply of range balls supplied. There were no stingy distributions counted in 20 balls into a bucket. They just gave you a full bucket, and you could go on the range, take as much time as you want. There were COVID restrictions on how many competitors could be there at a time, and this was adhered to for the most part. Well, no, for all of the part. Like, they did a good job of enforcing the COVID restrictions. Otherwise, why else would you have them? And yardage books. So the practice area was great. And in terms of yardage books, from what I could tell, no books were provided this year. Although there's a chance they were available and you had to ask for them. I just didn't ask for them because I already had mine where I've caddied in Links trophies in the past. But normally, you see the caddies out there with their lasers, like the actual St Andrews caddies. They go out there and map out a book, and so it's fresh and ready for this year's edition of the tournament. So only the finest yardage books are normally provided. I'm sure they were available, I just didn't ask. Right, the big one. This is when you know you're at a tournament. The merchandise. What did they give you as a little perk? You always think, oh, this is nice to get it for free, even though you've paid an entry fee in the first place. This year, because of COVID rules with no rakes being in the bunkers, every competitor was given a rake attachment to put on the end of one of their clubs so they could rake the bunkers. All bunkers were in play. There was no preferred lies in the tournament itself. These rake attachments on their own are worth £10 from the Links starter boxes, so that's a win. You got a little pouch with tees and a pencil and a pitch mark repairer. They were available on every first tee throughout the tournament week. And you also got a little kind of souvenir bag which had St Andrews Links trophy stitched on it. Stitched is a nice touch. And inside it had, tees and all the standard stuff, but also a weighty crested poker chip ball marker, and a bag tag. And bag tag is my dream merchandise, as it truly demonstrates participation in the event. So a little bag tag with St Andrews Links trophy on it. I haven't even got it out of the wrapper yet. I want to protect that, because at the Battle Trophy a few years ago at Crail, I proudly stuck that on my bag and proceeded to lose it straight away. So don't want to lose the bag tags. That is the number one rule. Now, food. Now we're going to get into some complicated or more complicated costings. Well, not too complicated to start with, because I just noticed there were bananas on every first tee, and a big supply of bananas as well. You could have taken as many as you want, but you don't want to take too many because you don't want to look greedy. And there was water on every first and 10th tee throughout the tournament rounds. Not in the practice bit, throughout the tournament rounds. And it was I keep saying plentiful supply, but it was a plentiful supply, because I was in a late tee time on the Saturday on the old course, and there were still bottles available on that 10th tee, and it was getting hot, so we needed them. It was never in danger of running out, and again, it just shows great organisation on the Links part. Now, the Links Clubhouse seems to be the hub of the tournament. This is where everyone kind of hangs out. Although there are plenty of places to go in the town of St Andrews to eat and drink. Was it the most pubs per capita of any UK town? I feel like that's a stat. But the Links Clubhouse seems to be the place where everyone goes, so I checked out some key prices in case you wanted to know. The Cullen Skink at the Links Clubhouse is now, the Tom Morris Bar and Grill. It's been rebranded since lockdown. But the Cullen Skink is £6.50, the chips are £3.50, and if you want a burger, Tom Morris burger, £15.50. So, when did I eat? What did it cost me? Well, after Thursday practice, we went to the Tom Morris Bar and Grill, and my food was actually paid for by my new friends. Tragic. So, we went out on a practice round on the old course, and I was helping these guys out, really nice guys, and their parents were coming round as well, and they just wanted to show their gratitude for the help. So they paid for I had Cullen Skink. Yeah, Cullen Skink was a good shout. I'd recommend that from the Tom Morris Bar and Grill. So that was very nice of them, so I didn't have to pay that day. Thank you very much, my new friends. Now, the second time when I had to eat, I did have to pay this time. Boo. And it was at the new golf club. So after the Friday tournament round, I paid for lunch for myself. My flatmate who came round, Daniel, shout out, he came round to walk and watch every hole. He actually did on the Saturday as well on the old course. And I paid for the lunch of my caddy Duncan. And all in all, because it's the new golf club and their prices are insanely reasonable, it was £21.51, and that was the guys getting burgers and pints. And I got the heftiest club sandwich you've ever seen, plus a pint of orange and lemonade, my classic go-to. All of that £21.50, which we'll come to at the end because it adds up to the tally. Now on the Sunday I ended up caddying for my friend Aaron, as I mentioned earlier, and it was a turn and burn lunch. And for those who don't know what turn and burn means, it's a caddying term, which means that, well, I've always taken it to mean that you'd finish your first round and then you kind of turn around and then you continue to burn the calories. That's how I've always pitched it. I'm sure there's some other innocuous meaning. But it was a turn and burn lunch from the Tom Morris Bar and Grill, so we literally finished our first round of the old course, went up to the Bar and Grill and got given roast beef sandwiches, and then had to go straight back to the first tee because we were teeing off in about 20 minutes. Roast beef sandwich was great. It was one of the better sandwiches I've had this year, what can I say? It was quick service, can't argue with that, but I have to argue with the seagull that stole my sandwich on the first tee. I had a few bites, it was great, and then got complacent, didn't look out for the seagulls, and as everyone knows in St Andrews, you've got to look out for the seagulls. It stole my final bite on the first tee and had to go in the bin, which was a bit of a shame. But I should have known better. There were some comments on the mid-rare cooking for the beef. Obviously, with quick turnaround, it was still kind of bleeding in the sandwich, but that's how I like my beef, so I enjoyed it. But yeah, just some comments to note there. Now, the big costs. So, travel and accommodation. Now, I stay in St Andrews, so there's going to be a bit of a cop-out this week, this section, but the only travel and accommodation costs for me were literally the petrol I used throughout the week, which equates to around an eighth of a tank, which is probably about £5 worth, so, astronomical through the roof, what can I say? So this will obviously be different for the other players travelling in for the tournament. There's a lot of English, a lot of Scottish, but from all around Scotland and from all around England. So there's a lot of petrol costs and a lot of different accommodation costs associated with playing in this tournament, even though the entry fee itself is only £60. It sounded like, from the guys that I spoke to in the practice rounds and the tournament rounds, that accommodation was hard to come by, and a lot of people stayed outside of the town for the sake of cheaper and easier to find accommodation. So some of the guys, for example, were staying in Dundee, some in Lower Largo, some in Leith, and just kind of satellite towns to St Andrews. And it definitely made financial sense. And they're only 20 minutes away, half hour away drive. It's very doable. My friend Aaron actually managed to find a place pretty much in the town, but this came with a price in more ways than one. Now, I won't be doing this story justice at all, so I'll just cover it briefly, but apparently they got to I think it was an Airbnb, and one of the bedrooms, they got in there, threw the bags down, there was a bat on the ceiling, so the bags were quickly taken out of that room, and that room was sealed off, so two of the guys had to share a bedroom. And then on the first night, it turns out there were bats in that bedroom as well, so apparently that was a bit frightening. They all ended up in the front room. But they did get a 50% discount from their hosts. So, swings and roundabouts, I suppose. You got to watch out with some of these places. In terms of prizes, you actually get a prize for making the cut. You get a £70 voucher to use in any of the link shops in town. And for winners and the top places at the end of the 4 rounds, there's probably normal increments for the vouchers. So £500 for the winner, working your way down, £375 for second, something like that. So, here we go. This is what we've been building up to. The total cost of the Links Trophy for me, entry, golf and travel, came to £65. The accommodation and the food, well, accommodation I've already got covered, and the food, the only food I had to pay for was for my caddy and my flatmate, so that was £21.51. So the total cost of the Links Trophy for me was £86.51. Possibly the best value, top level amateur tournament that you could have, and it just helped a lot that it was happening in essentially my hometown. But, and this is going to be more useful to you, the listener, the approximate cost for outsiders travelling in for the St Andrews Links Trophy for the week, talking Monday to Monday, or leaving Monday morning. You got your £60 entry. You got the golf, which is all thrown in, but if you wanted an extra practice round, it might cost a little bit more, as we said earlier, for the normal green fees. Or if you've got a great friend who wants to use their points and help you out. And for the travel, say a petrol tank is maybe £50, maybe you need 2 of those to get to and from if you're from the south of England or something like that. Looking at accommodation, there is a Premier Inn in St Andrews. As I've said, you can stay in any of the satellite towns, but the Premier Inn, you can get rooms for around £35 a night for the week. That'd be about £250, and around £100 for food potentially for the week if you based it on, say, spending £15 a day outlay and staying for 1 week. That'd be about £100 just for, I don't know, going to get a cheeky Nando's or going to the pub and having a drink and then getting some pub grub. All in all, the approximate cost for outsiders for the week, with the estimations I've just outlined, would be between £445 to £500 for the week. So my cost was £86.51 for an outsider, £445 to £500. So if you won, the St Andrews Links Trophy, I mean, not even that would cover you because it'd be a voucher. But you're getting something back only at that point. Otherwise, you're in the red. So I just want to close this off with an overall experience rating, which sounds way more official than it probably is. Just a couple of negative logistical issues was that parking was sketchy at times. It's a tournament that's happening on a weekend, a sunny weekend in this case, in St Andrews at the beginning of June. There's a lot of tourists, and the Links Clubhouse car park can get very busy. If you're trying to park there, you might have difficulty, and it could, if you don't leave enough time, influence your making your tea time. Another point was that for live scoring, which seems to be a thing at a lot of tournaments this year, the Scottish Golf app for live scoring and card submission, a positive was that there are officials on site to assist in helping you set everything up pre and post round, which was helpful. But that does kind of tell you everything you need to know. At the moment, it's a cool concept, but right now the Scottish Golf app has a habit of crashing or going badly wrong, and apparently it did so at the Scottish stroke play the week before at Southerness. Some other kind of just neutral logistics was at registration. For the registration process, there was a COVID questionnaire to be filled online before arriving on site. It was 5 questions, but it's an important aspect which was carried out efficiently with minimal disruption to player preparation. You just had to fill out the questions, and that's kind of the legalities completed. But like I say, once you arrived on site, there were also COVID protocols in place, which the Link's been having in place for a long time. So everyone was well versed in how to be sensible and not have any risk of transmitting or receiving the virus. So what I've done is I've created a spreadsheet. You won't be able to see this because it's a podcast, but I've scored out of 5 across 11 different areas that I feel are important for a big golf tournament. And this is so I can ultimately rank the events and compare them against each other at the end of the season. So the 11 different areas: hospitality, practice facilities, practice round offering, course condition, course layout, course setup, organisation, communication between the organisers and the players, location, parking, and the weather. I guess the weather, there's not much you can do about that, but that's just overall experience. For the Links Trophy, out of 55, I've managed to score it a 52.5, which is a strong score. The lost marks were for the parking, which was sketchy at times, and the course setup. Some of the flags, I played 36 holes of this event and then caddied the other 36, and I think every single flag was about as tucked away as it could be in the most interesting, let's say, of positions. Maybe this is me being naive to big amateur tournaments where they do just seem to tuck pins away, but first time I've properly experienced it, and I just took away half a point for that for the setup. But it is fun. I've got to say, it is fun to try and play some interesting flags. And they played us off the championship tees on the old course, with the only exception being the 17th, the road hole, where you play over the old course hotel, for people who don't know. Off the tips, there's a 495-yard par 4 from the tips. That would be glorious to play from in the future. So, come on, Links Trophy, sort yourselves out. If we're going to play championship tees, let's do it on every hole. So 52.5 out of 55, this may seem excessive. To be fair, it may well be excessive. I will make no bones about it. I'm definitely biased when it comes to rating St Andrews events. I live in St Andrews. I love the place. I'm going to be giving them the benefit of the doubt more often than not. So outsiders may give it a different rating. But to be fair, look, we've started here, and this is arguably one of the best amateur events in the world. It should have a high rating. It's top notch, and if you can qualify, if you have a high world ranking, if you can afford it, £450 to £500 roughly for an outsider coming into the town for the week, I would strongly recommend it, because the value for golf, the value for money is just through the roof. If all the COVID regulations are indeed gone by June next year and it returns to being an international event, it might be harder to get into, but I'll probably still be sticking my name on the reserve list. Even if I get to 83rd, there will always be the hope. And that was probably the most exciting bit of the week, was just plummeting down that reserve list and just having the dream of being able to play anything and then actually getting to do it was quite something. So next episode, we'll be looking at the Tennant Cup, which takes place at the Glasgow Gales and Killamont courses. It's a £70 entry fee, the same to members as visitors, and the first prize, £500, runner-up £450, third place £375, fourth £300, fifth £220, the normal increments, but still feels good to read them out. It's a lot of money you could make back in vouchers. What I know right now, having never played this event before, is that the golf includes, the entry fee includes practice rounds and tournament rounds. There'll be a practice round at each, and then I believe it's Saturday, it's 2 rounds at the Gales, then the cut, and then if you make the cut, it's 2 rounds at the Killamont. For travel and accommodation, I'll be driving to Lenzie in Glasgow and staying with some friends there for the duration, so I'm really looking forward to that. And in terms of merchandise and food, I have no idea what to expect. I don't know how I'm going to exist away from home for a week, but tune in next time to see if I survive. Hopefully I do, otherwise there won't be a next time, but you get the idea. So, that was a lot of me talking, and that was a lot of you listening. Let's just wrap things up. So that was every practical thing you need to know about the St Andrews Links Trophy, with a bit of local St Andrews golfing info thrown in there for good measure. If there is anything major that I've missed out that you would like to have heard about that would have been useful for your future planning, or even my future planning for events that I've just completely overlooked, then get in touch with the podcast. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube as the Free Relief Golf Podcast, we're on Twitter at Golf Relief. So follow and subscribe to get all those episode updates and to give your feedback. You can always get in touch with me personally at freddielawrence.golf@gmail.com. I'd love to hear any feedback to make future episodes specific to what you'd like to hear. Until then, I've been Freddie, you've been lovely, see you next time.